Pisa, in Italy, is famous for its leaning tower. But now Pisa is also famous for one of the greatest archaeological discoveries. December 1998. At San Rossore train station in the shadow of the Leaning Tower, a construction project was underway to extend the Genoa-Rome railway line. Heavy machinery had started to work. Ancient artifacts are found so often here that by law, all new construction has to be supervised on site by an archaeologist. On this occasion, the task fell to Elena Rossi. She was unaware of what lay buried just beneath her feet.
No one could have predicted the importance of this site. We were in the dark about what was about to happen.
A piece of wood caught her attention. Because wood rots quickly, it's almost never found deep underground. Elena knew it was important. Her discovery brought the multi-million-pound construction site to a standstill. Elena excavated for 2 days. What she uncovered was an ancient Roman ship nearly 2,000 years old. It was launched shortly after the death of Jesus Christ. Remarkably, the wood was so well preserved that the marks of the shipbuilder's tools were still visible. Then, just meters away, Elena and her colleagues found the remains of another ship, its cargo still intact. A sailor's shoe lay nearby. And incredibly, these 2 ships were just the beginning.
After a few days, we started just to see a third and a fourth. Then this thing started to grow day by day in an exponential way.
Amazingly, the third ship had its ropes and rigging still in place. The fourth was a capsized cargo ship, over 18 meters long. Almost every day, a new boat was uncovered, until the total reached a stunning 17 vessels. It is the greatest collection of ancient ships ever found. But it's also a mystery.
When the ships first appeared, the question was, why are those ships there? And there was no answer.
Why had so many ships sunk in the same place? Had a catastrophe struck these ancient vessels? The answer would be uncovered as the archaeologists dug deeper into the mud that entombed the Roman ships. Today, Pisa is a small Italian city, but it was once a great port of the Roman Empire. Here, around 320 kilometers north of Rome, the empire sent its navy to attack Gaul and Spain. And from there, Pisa imported trade goods from its vast empire that circled the Mediterranean. Today, all that's left of Pisa's watery past is this, the unnavigable Arno River. Since Roman times, the coastline has changed, and the ocean is now 11 kilometers away. But this archaeological site, about the size of a football field, is providing a window into Pisa's past. Just a few weeks into the dig, the archaeologists quickly began to concentrate on this ship. It was unlike anything they'd ever seen before. It dated from the 1st century BC, around the time of Julius Caesar. It was over 9 meters long and had seats for 12 oarsmen, as well as a sail. Although it was built 2,000 years ago, the carved details could still be clearly seen, right down to the ancient graffiti carved into a seat.
You have extraordinary preservation of the wood, but also you've got all the ropes. You've got the stays, I don't think you've got the sails, but we're still hoping. I've never seen a knot in an ancient Roman rope before. We were seeing one over there that was made 2,000 years ago, which actually is the same sort of knot that's used in sailing today.
They could even tell what color the ship was. They found this red pigment, a color favored by the Romans. And this dark pigment was analyzed by infrared spectrometry. It revealed that this was actually white paint, oxidized to black over 2,000 years. But nothing prepared them for what they uncovered next. This was a ram used for battering other ships. They had discovered a Roman warship, the first ever found. They could even see how this warship was constructed when they found these well-preserved mortises and tenons. It was built with thick wooden planks which were held together by the mortises and tenons, which made the ship completely watertight. It was 9 meters long, nearly the size of a bus, and painted red and white, powered by 12 oarsmen and a sail, with a deadly battering ram at the front. This quick and lethal attack vessel conquered the Mediterranean. But the story of how this battleship came to lie in the mud of Pisa for 2,000 years was about to be uncovered. Here in Pisa, 17 Roman ships were discovered, dating back to 2,000 years. Among them was a 15-meter-long freighter. The skeleton of a sailor was also found, and by his side lay his faithful dog. Seafaring was so dangerous, the Romans called their sailors compagno morti, companions of death. The archaeologists found the sailors carried only a few possessions, like this plate, the owner's name inscribed on the back. A leather purse which held the sailors' wages of 1 denarius a day, or about 5 grams of silver. And an oil lamp, which provided a flicker of light in the sailors' dark quarters. Along with the sailors' possessions, this very same freighter carried a cargo of at least 300 amphorae, the storage jars of the ancient world. Some still contained their 2,000-year-old contents. They offered a fascinating insight into the imported goods of the Roman Empire. The archaeologists now had the opportunity to analyze the contents of the containers. But much of the ancient material was unrecognizable, so they turned to X-ray refraction. By bombarding the sample with X-rays, they found identifying chemical patterns, the pattern of ancient wine, dried cherries and walnuts. But what surprised them most was this sample. The jar contained a carefully selected mixture of colorful sand. Analysis revealed that this blend came from Campania, a region around 800 kilometers to the south.
We're still asking ourselves why Pisa wouldn't need to import sand from Campania. But perhaps, as somebody suggested, it's actually better sand to exercise on in the arena.
Archaeologists believed they'd found the sand that had been destined for the arena to soak up the blood of gladiators fighting for their lives in the most lethal of Roman sports. Three months into the dig, the archaeologists faced a devastating problem. The ships had been protected from microbes for 2,000 years by a rich layer of mud and water. Now, to uncover the ships, the archaeologists had to remove the very thing that once preserved them. Exposed to the air, the wood immediately shriveled. Just as dangerous, fungus began to grow and the wood rotted before their eyes. The archaeologists took emergency measures. They sprayed the ships with water to keep the wood from drying out.
It's ironic that while we have to pump water out of the site in order to work, at the same time we must constantly keep hosing down the ships in order to save the wood.
But these measures weren't enough. A tiny sample of wood revealed the problem. Here, under an electron microscope, the archaeologists examined the wood. Normally, one would see a network of cells which support the wood. But time has completely destroyed these cells. The only thing supporting the wood was the water inside. To save the ships, they had to take drastic action. Using an experimental technique, they encased each ship in a fiberglass shell. Then, they pumped the protective water back in. Until they work out how to study the ships without destroying them, they won't be seeing them again.
We're tempted to excavate the ships quickly, just to get a look at them. But if we do, we'll destroy the site. So we must work slowly. Sometimes we can still see the wood deteriorating, so we're quite distressed.
"6 months of digging at Pisa have uncovered a wealth of antiquities. Elegant glazed pottery. An oil lamp with a mythological scene. A key to a long-lost door. And these busts of ancient Carthaginian goddesses, proof that the Romans were trading with their most hated enemies. They also uncovered a cargo ship with a Noah's Ark of animal bones. They called in a paleozoologist, Claudio Serentino, to investigate. Claudio could tell by the marks on this pig's jaw that it had been cooked and eaten, probably a sailor's lunch. Claudio has collected thousands of animal bones from the excavation. This ship carried live cargo: goats, cows, horses, for trade, as well as sea turtles to feed the crew. And there's an unusual find: 400 pig shoulders, all of them right shoulders.
We're not talking about 400 pigs, we're talking about 400 right shoulders. And apparently, pigs sleep consistently on their left side, so that the right side is fatter and tastier, so that you could be looking at the importation either of salted or of smoked or of cured hams from Spain, selecting the best cut, which is the right shoulder, instead of the left.
And the most exotic find was a lion's tooth. Imported from Africa, the lion would have been destined for the arena and the infamous gladiator games. The archaeologists believe the rest of the lion's skeleton remains buried at the site. With every new find, the image of Pisa is changing from the home of the Leaning Tower to the home of one of the great harbors of the Roman Empire. Historians have always known that Pisa had an ancient port, and as they explored a new region of the archaeological site, they found the clinching evidence. 11 kilometers from the sea, they uncovered the breakwater and pier of their ancient harbor. This was the very place where over 2,000 years ago, sailors unloaded cargoes of imported hams, oil, wine, as well as sand and lions for the arena. But what force had sunk these ships, filled in the canals, and buried the harbor? The first clue came when the archaeologists dated the vessels. Mysteriously, the ships didn't appear to come from one single time, but spanned an 800-year period. The ships must have been destroyed not by one, but by a string of catastrophes.
At Pompeii, an entire city disappeared in a single event. Here we have a series of events. It's like many Pompeiis over 8 centuries.
A clue lay in the very mud that preserved the ships. As the scientists conducted detailed geological surveys of the site, they found layers of extremely heavy and thick sediment. Layers such as these are usually deposited by fast and powerful flowing water. It was the sign of major flooding. This was the 1966 flood, the last major one to strike Pisa. It was a flood of epic proportions, yet archaeologists now believe that this severe flood paled in comparison to a series of floods that repeatedly struck ancient Pisa. It is a violent history that continually drenched Pisa over an 800-year period. Each flood was so powerful it deposited vast amounts of mud. So much mud, it pushed the sea back hundreds of meters. And with every succeeding flood, the sea was pushed back even further, until it pushed the ocean 11 kilometers away from the city. The people of ancient Pisa built their harbor, and a flood engulfed it in mud. They rebuilt their harbor, only to have a disastrous new flood destroy it yet again. It was a cycle that continued for 800 years, until the people of Pisa finally lost their battle with the floods, and their harbor was lost forever. Though a tragedy for ancient Pisa, this site is a dream come true for archaeologists. The floods have preserved the most important collection of ancient ships ever found. This remarkable archaeological site will yield treasures for years to come.